Welcome back to my studio. In today's video, I'll be showing you how I made this large bum roll to pair with a large French farthingale to create the silhouette for a couture gown that I will be working on. This is not historically how these pieces were worn, but I am using the Tudor Tailor to create the pieces, and I'm using the instructions from the Tudor Tailor as well as the patterns they have in there so that I can create this silhouette. The first thing that I do is mark out my pattern, and I do this by using the dot method, I guess. I just create a grid, dot, and then connect the dots. Then I cut it out on my 2 pieces of cotton, and this is just a quilter's cotton from Joann's. And I will also use the same piece to cut out my binding, which I'm going to use as ties. I ended up cutting out about double the amount of binding I needed. So if I ever were to make this again, I would not cut out so much binding. And then I would also, this only took about a yard of fabric and maybe 2 hours to put together. I cut out my fabric, and then I'm going to chain stitch all of my bias binding pieces together. And the longest step of this entire process was actually ironing my binding. It took me so much longer than the rest of it, but it's worth it because you need to press those seams and get your binding pieces all ironed out. And then from there, I actually sew them closed since I am using them for ties. So now I'm going to pin my fabric together, and I actually pin the binding strips to the tips so that when I flip it inside out, it'll already be attached. And I have quite a wide gap on the inside of this in order to stuff it with Polyfill. I chose to use Polyfill on this because it was affordable. I also didn't know how much I was going to need. I bought a 16-ounce bag of Polyfill, and I used probably 3/4 of it. And here you'll see that I am stuffing it, and I try to stuff my bum roll so that it's really solid. Like, you would not want to get whacked in the face with something like this. I would stuff it way more than I would stuff a, stuffed animal or anything like that, because it is going to hold up the weight of some gowns and things like that. Once I've stuffed it to as much as I physically can, I actually sew it shut, and I do this by hand. And normally you could use like a slip stitch. I kind of just like stitched it closed. I just looped it, and then once I got all the way to one side, I just looped it back around, and it was strong enough to hold it all in. And there you go. That's how I made my bum roll. I'm really happy with how this bum roll turned out. I think I could use it for costumes other than what I'm going to use it for, but it does exactly what I wanted it to do when I pair it with the French farthingale, and it basically keeps the farthingale in the back from weighing down by the weight of like anything being pushed on it. And that's kind of what I wanted. Historically, this would have been paired with a set of bodies and tucked into the tabs, but I'm going to be making a Victorian corset for this, so that won't work. Thank you so much for watching this video, and happy sewing!